O próximo não será tão entusiasmante, será mais de reflexão, mas também é importante olharmos para aquilo que nos rodeia e para as tendências que o mundo nos vai ditando, para percebermos de que forma é que nos devemos preparar, proteger e também adaptar aos desafios que se colocam. A seguir vamos ter um painel de debate para relançar a reflexão nesta conferência Connecting Healthcare e vamos olhar para as estratégias para uma liderança global no mundo, numa era disruptiva. De manhã olhámos muito para as guerras, para as tensões geopolíticas, para a ameaça nuclear que paira sobre todos os países e não apenas sobre aqueles que estão verdadeiramente em conflito. E, portanto, para nos protegermos e para evitarmos contextos como estes, é importante que tenhamos bons líderes, líderes à altura dos desafios, não só à frente dos governos, mas também à frente das nossas organizações e das nossas sociedades. É sobre isso que vamos falar dentro de instantes, perceber quais são as características e o perfil de um bom líder que, mais do que apenas escolher, traçar cenários, avaliar critérios, tem de inspirar a sua comunidade, a sua organização a aderir ao propósito a que determinou toda a comunidade. E para isso eu vou chamar o embaixador da Índia em Portugal, Puneet Kundal. Welcome. Vai-nos também fazer companhia Maria Pujutadic, enviada especial da Croácia para a Ação Climática. Welcome, Maria. A round of applause, please. You can sit in the middle. Hello again. E também o Dean da Católica Porto Business School, João Pinto. Um aplauso também. Bem-vindo, João. Como eu fiz referência de manhã, esta conversa, como se percebe, vai ser feita em inglês. Presumo que quem precise já tenha ido levantar o aparelho para a tradução simultânea. Ao mesmo tempo, e como este é um momento que exige mais concentração para escutarmos, mas também para acompanharmos em inglês, eu vou pedir que haja um bocadinho mais de silêncio. São apenas alguns minutos de conversa, mas é em prol de todos que consigamos escutar com mais atenção aquilo que os nossos oradores vão partilhar connosco. So, welcome, Mr. Ambassador. I'm going to start by you. From your perspective, how has the concept of global leadership has evolved, facing, recent and also global challenges like the pandemics, like geopolitical tensions, but also climate change?
Well, thank you. Very good afternoon, and absolutely a pleasure to be here. Before I start, I just want to just let everybody know that, among the dances that were performed, the second dance was something which I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. I'll just call Kritika. Kritika, can you hear me? This dance is a folk dance from the state of Rajasthan. And the importance of this dance is that we had the visit by the President of India in April this year. Mm-hmm. And we released a joint stamp along with the President of Portugal, which featured this dress. And there was a dress from Viana Castelo, which was the Portuguese dress.
Yes.
So this dance is important because this dress features in the commemorative stamp that we issued on the 50 years of the completion of diplomatic relations between India and Portugal.
Is the dress?
There she is. So this is a folk dance dress from the state of Rajasthan, and of course she carries it so elegantly.
She deserves a round of applause.
Yeah, she does.
It's a very important dress. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, today's world is marked by, there's one word you can think about, that is turbulence. And the turbulence comes just not from climate change is one aspect of that. But geopolitical turbulence, a conflict of ideologies, the end of the Cold War. But let's not forget that we are still in a phase of the post-pandemic recovery. And that featured a kind of it led to a debt crisis in many countries. It led to, the realizations that countries need to be self-dependent. Suddenly you ran out of basic medicines like paracetamols and azithromycins, and you realized that there was over-concentration of production in a particular geography, and suddenly supply chains weren't there. So that is the kind of challenges that you have to live up to. And then the geopolitical tensions, of course, we are living in what we can perfectly call as a three-conflict scenario. So you have two active conflicts, maybe even three. Russia, Ukraine, of course, being one, which has really exacerbated the post-pandemic, or even during the pandemic crisis, because it led to a shortage of three basic, what is called as the 3F syndrome, which is food, fuel, and fertilizer. Then you had the second conflict, which is the Middle East, which seems to conflagrate with every passing day. The third is the Asia-Pacific. The Asia-Pacific, of course, comes with the rise of China and the geopolitical tensions that go with that. And that has created its own set of dynamics. For example, countries tend to coalesce together looking for excuses or reasons to be together, whether they are cultural, historical, strategic. So NATO, for example, is a response to that, to the Cold War. But under the new scenario, you have groupings like the AUKUS, which is the Australia, Korea, US, UK. You have the JARO-PUS, which is Japan, Republic of Korea, and the US. Then you have JARO-PUS, you have the Quad, you have BRICS, and so on and so forth. Therefore, I think to summarize this, I would say that there is a very old management theory, which is called the VUCA theory, the VUCA, which really stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I think that VUCA theory of the 70s is what we are looking at. You also asked me for a response, the response from the leadership. So let me give you the same VUCA in a new avatar, a new format, which is vision, understanding, courage, and adaptability. I think you can do a SWOT analysis of the earlier VUCA and come out with the second VUCA for the set of solutions that you require for each and everything, including my co-panelist here, including climate change, for which we will be keen to hear more from her.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, and Maria, regarding climate change, you are an official member of the Croatian negotiating team for COPs, specifically COP21, very famous for the Paris Agreement. What challenges are you facing right now in an international level, given a lot of countries' position about this? And also, what is your country, Croatia, position as a EU member?
Thank you for your question. First of all, I would like to thank the organization board for inviting me and giving me opportunity to talk about this very important topic those days. As a climate change negotiator, I witnessed a huge, tremendous positive energy that will be involved in this topic for a long time. And in order to help all the people around the world to face with climate change. And in recent time, unfortunately, that we can see it's an opportunity. But it is due to the fact that some things are changing. The geopolitical issues is coming and security issues. But also I have to point out that 196 countries signed the Paris Agreement. It's a huge number of countries. It's not 5 or 6, something like that. And as you can see, it is very hard to put together even 3 or 5 countries for the same table, and it is a huge number of the countries. So we are doing this, and we are do this because we just want to help the new generation to face with the new challenges, with what the climate change is bringing, but also to help them, to enable them to live at this planet as longer as possible. Unfortunately, I'm so sad when I see this day that some countries decided to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, Because I think that more than ever, we have to stick together in fight against climate change, and just not because only new generation, but to help all of us to build our resilience and to build our economy and security system. But I have also to tell you and to give you a short overview what we have done, what we are doing, and what we intend to do in this regard. Actually, I think that the Paris Agreement is very important, but after the Paris Agreement, we had also the Dubai, COP28 in Dubai, that we agreed some very important things, like loss and damage fund that you maybe mentioned in your speech. Loss and damage fund is very important for vulnerable countries. Why? To build their resilience, to build their security against climate change. And we decided that we will make a foundation this fund for a huge amount of money. And that year, 2021, many countries, developed countries, decided to invest in this foundation about $700 million this year. Mm-hmm. So you can think it's a really huge amount of money, but it's actually just a drop in the ocean how much money they need to build their resilience. It's almost more than $580 billion that we have to invest to build their resilience. Also, we made some very good progress in regard of stop with fossil fuels. And we realized that transition that includes renewable energy should be mandatory. But unfortunately, I can see those days drill is not giving us the answer on this regard. Also, one very important what we did is global stocktake. I think the global stocktake is very important for the countries because we can follow the progress since Paris Agreement, where we are on this track, how much emissions do we cut or reduce. So I think that we did a really great job in this regard. And those days, we can see that something like stopped, but I truly believe that this next COP30 in Brazil will be also end this COP, and it helps us to see where we are on our track on this progress in climate change.
Very well. João, what qualities are mandatory if someone wants to be a global leader?
Thank you for the question. I would like to start by thanking the organization for the invitation to take part in this panel, and also greetings from my colleagues and to everyone present. Regarding the question, when I was preparing this panel, I went through the World Economic Forum's 2025 risk report, and when reading it, I basically noted 6 instabilities or discontinuities that we have today. So there are GDP growth rates falling, flat wages leading to inequalities, science and free speech under attack, global heating continues with increasing fossil fuels consumption, and mental health crisis. So these are the 6, I would say, discontinuities. And having this in mind and trying to answer your question, in my opinion, I think there are 6 core characteristics, or saying in other words, strategic pillars for a global leader to lead in this disruptive world. And I would say that the first one is ethical and responsible leadership. And this is what I call going back to the basics. Today, a leader needs to or has to lead with the mind and also with the heart. So what is the meaning of this? A good leader has to use the hard skills that he or she absorbs during the university or doing by learning, because this is very important, for example, in healthcare, but also with their heart in the sense that it has to lead with empathy, with compassion, trying to try to be on the other person's shoes. This is the first one, and I think this is quite important. And in our school, ethics, responsibility, and sustainability is the cornerstone of everything that we do, meaning that, for example, we included business ethics in our programs 20 years ago. We have included transversal skills, meaning the combining hard skills with soft skills in other programs for many, many times. And this is very important. The second strategic topic or pillar or characteristic is embracing disruption as a catalyst for innovation. I don't think disruption is a threat. I think that leaders can use the opportunities that emerge from disruption to change, to transform their organizations. And even when we think on management, on strategy, only when an organization is able to create disruptive innovations, those disruptive innovations are the ones that will provide the organization with comparative and competitive advantages. So this is quite important. So looking to disruption is important. And you can think in one of those disruptions that we have today, which is artificial intelligence. And I will talk about it later on during my speech. The third topic is leading with purpose. So you were mentioning the purpose. I think we have to emphasize values-driven or impact-driven leadership. And here is when it comes the ESG, so sustainability, responsibility. This is very important. And today, organizations, when defining their strategies, they have to put sustainability in the core of the strategies. Otherwise, I don't think that we'll create enough value in the future. And in our university, we address this through what we call interdisciplinary hubs. So we have an hub which is a partnership between the business school and the biotech school and Frontiers, in which we are working with firms and organizations, helping them in this transition to a more sustainable business model, to a more sustainable economy. The fourth pillar is technology as a strategic enabler. So, and here I can mention artificial intelligence. I referred, and today a leader has to leverage in emerging technologies to stay ahead, meaning that we need to acknowledge that artificial intelligence is here, is provoking a structural shift, and it will impact significantly in all areas of management. So what we should do is trying to create boundaries, because we will have to use them in our organizations. And when you look to health, the healthcare industry, there are lots of examples in which we can use artificial intelligence. In our university, what we have done was we'll build up a strategy, and we published in the beginning of last year AI code of conduct for students, faculty, and staff, meaning that our students know what they should do, they shouldn't do, what are the key AI tools that can be useful during their journey, but we emphasize to the students that AI are important, but they are complements to critical thinking, because this is very important. Another pillar is cross-border collaboration and ecosystem thinking. So, and here we have an example of, I would say, cross-border collaboration. So I have 3 from different countries, but I think that each country by itself is not able to solve the problem. So we have to build up partnerships, long-term partnerships with other countries, with other universities, with other organizations, in order to foster and to address these issues regarding disruptive times. And finally, the scenario planning and future-focused leadership. You were mentioning VUCA, Yes, we are in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And in this case, foresight is essential. And what is the meaning of foresight is that when you are trying to define, or a leader needs to define the strategy for the future, he needs to define, at the end of the day, different strategies. Because in 5 to 6 years, you have completely different scenarios. So you have to build up different scenarios, and for each scenario you have to have a strategy, you have to have, for example, a budget, you have to simulate different possible situations in the future, and that's what you have to do, otherwise we have problems. And this is also related with something that is quite important. We have to foster literacy in specific areas. Now I'm thinking about sustainability, I'm thinking about finance, I'm thinking about digitalization. So we need to foster literacy in these fields, not only for young students, but I'll say for all of us, because these are cutting-edge topics.
Thank you. Mr. Ambassador, we got used for a long time we got used to long-lasting alliances, consistent alliances, but now we are in a moment in which countries look at each other with a certain hostility. Is there diplomacy if there is no trust?
Well, I think the basis of diplomacy stays those 3 words: trust but verify. So I wouldn't say that there is distrust between countries. Mm-hmm. It's just that the sands have shifted. And you have to adapt to the changing realities. I think what you have in mind, I don't want to preempt it, but I think what you have in mind is the recent schism that has been deep and sudden and perhaps lasting, is the schism between the European continent and the US. If that is one of the things, then I must say that, you see, the Munich conference was, in my view, a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. Then you had the basis of, NATO's basis is contributions by the member states. I think very few member states live up to those contributions. Countries change, people change, politics changes. There's another very famous saying that essentially all politics is local. Every country's external foreign policy will be dependent on how the country looks at itself. What are the changes that the country is facing at any point of time, which then gets reflected in its foreign policy. I think there has been a trend towards inward-looking countries. I can think of somebody like John F. Kennedy, who said that, America must lead the world, no matter what the cost it has to bear. Mm-hmm. Versus the new paradigm where it's more transactional, it's more everybody should stand up on their own feet. But having said that, I think political structures that have lasted till now are not going to disappear very quickly. New ones are going to be created. I can talk about BRICS. I can talk about the Quad, in which India is member. India, through our foreign policy, we have an independent foreign policy. We are not a member of any military alliance. We are a part of several alliances or arrangements, if I can call them, which have a specific focus either towards development, humanitarian assistance or disaster relief, even climate change for that matter. The CDRI, what we call it, the Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, is a part of that effort. You will see interesting changes. You will see changes happening. Like I said, the sands are shifting. The global order, for example, the UN today, it still reflects the Bretton Woods 1945. India does not have a place in the UN. Is it logical? I mean, I asked the entire audience here. India is today 18% of the world's population. India is the 4th largest economy in the world. By any parameter, how can anybody think of a UN with India not being there? Yes. And let me also say that we are thankful to the government of Portugal, which has time and again very clearly stated that India and Brazil should be a part of the UN Security Council. Therefore, things will change. Things have to change. I think that's the natural order of things as well. Mm-hmm.
But still, do you feel that countries are stronger if they have somehow some alliances?
Well, everybody looks for alliances. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you look for either alliances based on culture, language, even religion. The OIC, for example, Organization of Islamic Countries, is a religion-based organization. You look for alliances. But I think the main thing is that you must look for, don't go for congruence, you can go for compatibility. You don't have to exactly look eye to eye. You can, for example, agree to disagree on things, which is essentially what the basis of India's foreign policy has been. To put things in perspective, I think India would be among the very few countries in the world which today has the capacity to talk to Israel and Iran simultaneously,
Yes.
the capacity to engage Ukraine and Russia at the same time, the capacity to talk to the West and yet be a part of the global South at the same time. And these are just 3 examples that I gave you. You look at our strategic partners, you look at how India's progress has been, and you will see that we have been charting an independent foreign policy. I hope that kind of answers what you're looking for.
Yes, of course. Maria, João described the academic perspective of what a leader should be. From your experience, is the climate change, sustainability, environmental sustainability actually a priority in our business scenario?
Yes. First of all, I would like to comment just a little bit,
Of
if
course.
you allow me,
Yes,
because
of
I
course.
just want to discuss a little bit. I cannot more than agree with Mr. Dean because I'm deeply involved in global policies of climate change. I think it's very important for each of us to be involved, to be educated, to have strategic plans as Europe. But today I'm here from Croatia, but I can be citizen of the world, I can be citizen of Europe, but from sometimes I've been ambassador of European Commission. And I can truly say the one very important thing. We will not give up of our goal at the European level. We stay committed to our path, to our climate neutrality, because as you know, we adopt the European Climate Pact, and it is mandatory to reduce CO2 emission by 2050 and to achieve climate neutrality. So we are doing on this, and we will do this very hard, and I can see obviously the certain leadership in this. We establish EAS, it means External Service to Diplomatic Service on the European level. So we are working very hard on the many strategies, but mostly in the last time we developed and introduced new industrial plan. It is transformation business plan for Europe, and we are doing on this very hard on the European level. So each country of 27 countries has the same legislation. So we are here in the same page, and we are doing this on the best possible way, and we are very ambitious in this regard. And this year, during the COP in Brazil, we will also see how the NDCs are going. I noticed last year, India, I have congratulations, because India, as you know, it's on the 3rd place by pollution, but they made such a progress in this regard, and I think they are doing so well.
Well, we are the only big country that has met all its INDCs, exceeded them in fact.
Yeah. So that's
The power of willingness.
Yeah.
When a country wants, things happen.
Yeah. So despite all the environment, maybe negative attitude or something like this, we will not give up of our goals for sure. So we will stay on the same path.
João, well, maybe 20, 30 years ago, nobody talked about leadership or didn't discuss or didn't learn how to be a leader. But those people that didn't learn to be leaders are now our leaders, whether in politics or business or communities. When youngsters now go to college, they already changed their mindset. They go there because they want to be active leaders.
Yeah, we have, let me just give a step back, just complementing here what Marja said regarding sustainability. and give you the perspective from our country, from Portugal. I agree with you that, in fact, we have our goals and we'll keep chasing those goals. But when you look to the industry in Portugal, to organizations, and mostly in the north of Portugal, we see very, very specific industry fabric here. I have mixed feelings about that because I would say that I see three challenges in implementing this transition to a more sustainable economy. And the first one is about leadership. So what I think is that some leaders are not in the same page as we are, okay? And due to several aspects, but mainly because the idea that we teach for many years that a manager should run the company or the organization in order to maximize the shareholders' market or the market value of the firm in the shareholders' perspective is the idea that some of our leaders have today. And we have to change that mindset. And that's what we are doing with young kids, is that they have to manage or to lead in order to maximize the value of an organization, but in all the stakeholders' perspective. Okay, knowing that you have the business, and the business is surrounded by several boundaries. It's surrounded by the environment and the society. And this is something that we have to explain, and this is why I mentioned the need to foster literacy in sustainability, because there are misunderstandings about what is sustainability, and sustainability is more than environmental, social, and governance. Okay, that's ESG was something defined by the finance guys, just to summarize sustainability in 3 words, but we have much more than ESG. And the third challenge is related with financing, because several firms are now struggling to obtain financing because they are not complying with the criteria regarding ESG. Okay? And that might be also an opportunity, because if you do not go ahead with this change, then you will not obtain money or funding from both the equity market and from banks. But moving on to your question regarding the leadership skills and so on and so forth. Universities, mainly schools of management in Portugal and around the world, have a very, very important role in training the young generation to be good leaders. Again, focusing on ethics, this is very important, on responsibility, even sustainability. And for us, for our university, what we do is we develop students holistically, meaning that we train them with hard skills, but at the same time with soft skills. Okay? So this means that we look to and develop the integral personality that we have in our hands, and that's why we integrate humanist values, ethics, and other topics during the programs.
Mr. Ambassador, let's talk about innovation. And India is a rising technological country. What role does innovation has in this pursuit of having sustainable and resilient global leadership?
Sustainable and resilient global leadership. Are you talking of India as a global leader or in general?
Well, in generally, let's talk about how India does to get that milestone.
Well, like I said, India represents 18% of the world's population. We are a fast-growing economy, 7% growth rates. We are now the 4th largest economy in the world, and the idea is to be the 3rd largest before the end of this decade. We have pulled about 270 million people out of poverty in the past 10 years. Environment sustainability is a part of the entire approach that we have. It was about 3 years back that Prime Minister Modi, he launched what we called as the Lifestyle for Environment, the LIFE. It was launched by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the PM Modi himself. The idea is that lifestyles should be tailored or made in a way that they are sustainable for the environment. Now, India has been a sustainably growing country. My colleague here mentioned India as the third largest contributor to the emissions. Well, that's true. Of course, it is true. We are the fastest among the fastest growing economies. We are the largest country in the world in terms of population. But if you look at our historical contribution to emissions, it's 3% till today. If you look at the per capita emissions of India today, it's 2.9 tons per person. Do you know how much is the global average? It's 6.6 tons per person. We are less than half of the world per capita income even today. So therefore, when people talk about environment and about India being the third largest polluter and so on and so forth, well, we have our development initiatives to meet. My colleague here was very generous in pointing out, which is the fact that India is the only large country that not only met but exceeded all its Paris commitments. We are today mixing 20% ethanol with our fuel on an expanding base. We have 70 million people who visit a fuel pump every day. Let me put that again. 70 million people go to fill fuel every day in India. We have a target of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, and we are on target. We have a target of net zero by 2070, and I can assure you we will be on target as well on that. There is a people's movement which is also taken over. If you look at the forest area of India, we are better than most countries in the world. And we have sustained campaigns like our Prime Minister launched a very special campaign. It was called Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, which means a tree dedicated to your mother. Now, every Indian, more or less, planted a tree dedicated to his or her mother. You're talking of 1 billion trees automatically. Now, sustainability is not something that can be thrust on people. Sustainability comes from within. It comes from your lifestyles. It comes from the essence of being a civilizational country. It comes from the essence of Ayurveda. It comes from the essence of yoga. It comes from the essence of what we say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. We are celebrating International Day of Yoga on the 21st of June. And the theme for that is One World, One Health. Therefore, an international perspective and environment-conscious perspective has always been a part of our ethos. It's not new for us.
It's on our hands, sustainability. It's on our hands to do something for that sustainability. Maria, we were talking about innovation, but I would like to ask you something about the opposite. How do you feel about all these denialist movements? Is it frustrating to see all the data and the evidence that has been proven about climate change to being destroyed because some people have their own agendas?
Yes, but first of all, I have one comment on the ambassador's speech. I'm so happy that I can see that India will not withdraw from Paris Agreement. So that's a huge plus for this. Actually, yes. In fact, this year, the average temperature will be the highest ever recorded. And it is the fact. And the IPCC reports show us that NDCs, as they exist, even though they are implemented totally, are not sufficient enough to keep the global warming below 1.5 Celsius degrees. So business as usual without any change is leading to catastrophic situation. And at the end of the century, the temperature will hit more than 2.9 Celsius degree. So it will be very catastrophic for the life on Earth. So we have to be together, we have to stick together. And I don't know, does anybody explain what does ESG really mean? 2015, when we signed the Paris Agreement, we pledged that we will involve business society and financial sector into this topic. But in this moment, we didn't have a tool. ESG is the tool how to transform society into a low-carbon society. How? Actually, Paris Agreement is international treaty. It's not possible to introduce immediately. So we have developed national legislation. And ESG is allow us to introduce this into each country. So if you're asking me, does ESG have a future? Of course it will have, because we have to transform our companies, we have to transform our financial sector. In this regard, we have to educate our people, our business sector, financial sector, everybody to do something in this regard. So yes, we are pretty active and we will stay active in this.
João, denialism is also a menace to schools, to universities, because this disinformation is not just like old conspiracy theories, but they are used to pass a different message with a specific agenda. And now what we see in other countries are universities being threatened by a certain thought. Is that something that worries you, that concerns you?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that when we see a government trying to influence the science and how people think and what they say, basically, of course, is not good. And the changes that we have seen in the last months in the US, which affected us in Europe through, for example, accreditation process, because business schools go through the accreditation of 3 agencies. One is EQUIS, which is European. The other one is AMBA, which is also European. But the third one is the AACSP, which is American. And this accreditation agency, they changed lots of very specific words like diversity, inclusion, and equity. They erased those words from the guidelines. And this basically led to several deans from European schools writing a very, very strong letter to that agency saying that if they will not change the way they are basically assessing the schools, we would basically step down from the accreditation process. And this was a way from obtaining from the accreditation agency just an answer that was, we are not changing the way we do things. What we are changing or remaking is the wording we use, which is something a little bit awkward. But on the other hand, all of these changes are also an opportunity. And for us European schools, what we have seen was some universities, for example, Harvard, approach our university just to understand if we were able to basically help them in attracting or staying with their students during this period. Okay. Another movement was we launched this year a call to hire 4 international professors, and we received almost 300 CVs. I'll say 25% of them were from US-based professors. But another movement, and this was something that made me some surprise. It was surprising for me that we also received lots of CVs from professors that are now working in European universities that want to change to Portugal. And why? Because in those universities, due to movements to the hand-right parties and extreme ones, they are obliging those professors to teach in the national languages. Okay? For example, in the Netherlands, in France, in Belgium. So we are now receiving CVs because those professors don't want to learn the native language of that country, and they are also sending CVs to our country. So there are some opportunities, but at the end of the day, I think that would be better to not have those opportunities, but that's what you have.
Challenges must be leveraged. Well, as a final thought from each one of you, Mr. Ambassador, what advice would you give to the next generation of leaders to navigate in this disruptive world?
Well, we are, like I said, looking at an increasingly volatile, uncertain, and turbulent world. And the challenge will be to navigate the growth of the countries that they lead through the uncertainties that are thrown at you almost on a daily basis. I think flexibility would be one answer, and the vision and the understanding and the ability to take on challenges and be adaptable. I think that really will be the way forward. One will have to look at a problem, do a quick SWOT analysis. You will have the strengths and the weaknesses which will necessarily be yours, and you will have opportunities and threats which will necessarily be from the external environment. So you have to kind of navigate your strengths, play on your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, look for the opportunities, and deflect the threats to whatever best you can.
Maria, I know you have a message to leave, somehow a green ambition.
A green ambition. I have a clear message for each country in the European Union, because I know that Portugal has already have the adaptation strategy. So I think it's very important to introduce adaptation strategy. Without adaptation strategy, you couldn't build your resilience. You couldn't be prepared what we are coming with climate change, and what's coming, unfortunately, it's not so nice. On the other hand, the education, especially new generation, it's very important because they have to be involved in appropriate way. And the third thing, it's very important for the business society and financial sector to introduce ESG criteria, because without ESG criteria, they couldn't build their resilience. But also, they have to educate their employees, because in this togetherness, they build better society and economy stability, and of course, decarbonization system, and it is important for all of us, for people all around the world, and to be together in this story.
Yes.
So thank you. Yeah.
João, the same question, a message for young generation leaders.
My message is that basically four words. First, we have to have hope, have to contact, meaning that we need to contact with each other, because the young generations are very much focused on technology, on AI, and so on and so forth. So we have to contact with each other. We have to be resilient, and this is one of the most important words outside today, that we must be resilient. And for young generations, it is very important because they are not resilient. And finally, we need to innovate. Innovate in the sense that we need to innovate in order to foster sustainability. We need to innovate in our day-by-day activities and tasks.
Thank you very much, the three of you. A round of applause, please.
Thank you.